All right, we're here with our friends from UNC Charlotte to talk about some consulting positions and life of a consultant at Perficient. My name is Jennifer Stewart. I'm a campus recruiter. I've been doing this for about 10 years. I'm joined with one of my recruiting colleagues, Scott Albert. And Scott, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Really appreciate it. And yes, we're here tonight with students from UNCC. My name is Scott Albert. I met a lot of you at the career fair this past Friday. Thank you for having flexible calendars, flexible schedule to moving our Google Hangout from Thursday to tonight. But two, we just want to make sure that you know the process and kind of our roles. My role is a talent acquisition specialist. That is a corporate recruiter within Perficient. I work on the local business unit in both Charlotte and Atlanta, and I happen to have also the experience working on campus. The person I'm going to introduce next is Sean Wright. He'll be able to tell you a little bit more about this practice and his role within our team. Sean?
Sure, thanks, Scott. As Scott said, my name is Sean Wright. I am a technical director with Perficient. I've been with Perficient about 3 years. I started out as a technical architect, and now I've had the privilege to move up and take the director role. And one thing I have in common with each of you is that I also went to UNC Charlotte and graduated with a degree actually in geography, of all things, back when GIS was still first getting popular. So I have that in common with you guys, and very excited to have you on the call tonight.
Okay, everyone. Why don't we start with Chris? If you could tell us again, introduce yourself with your name, when you graduate, your major, why you chose your major or your school.
Sure. So, hi everybody. I'm Chris Snyder. I'm graduating in May of 2015, next year. My major is computer science, and I chose computer science because I enjoy problem solving and working with computers mainly.
Okay, Jake? Hold on, you're muted.
All right, better?
There you go.
Sorry. Hangout rookie. My name is Jake Tyndall. I'm a systems engineer here at UNC Charlotte. I have a minor in mathematics. My concentration is engineering management. I'm also graduating in May of 2015. I chose systems engineering a little bit later on in my career in academia. I started as mechanical, and it began to be a little bit more technical than I had anticipated. Switched to systems engineer, and I was able to apply a lot more of the business experience I already had to systems engineering while still getting a technical understanding. And what I like most about it is that it just changes the way that you think, changes the way that you can see processes and products. So that's why I chose it, and I love it. Wouldn't go back. Thank you.
Thanks. Luis?
Hello, my name is Luis Chegaray. I am a senior at UNCC Charlotte. And I'm graduating also in May 2015, along with everybody else. And I chose computer science because when I was younger, I did a lot of front-end web design and a little bit of back-end web development. And I never really got into the back-end as much as I wanted to. So when I decided to go to school, I decided to major in that.
Great. Okay. Medur, you want to go? You're muted. No, you're still muted. We're going to go on to Neha. You're muted as well, if you could unmute.
Neha, you are muted. Jennifer, can you unmute her? Maybe that.
Let's put on.
Yeah.
There you go.
Go ahead, Neha.
Okay. Yeah. Hi everyone, this is Neha, and I'm doing masters in UNC Charlotte, and my major is information technology. I pursued this information technology because I have done my undergraduates in this too, and I love the problem-solving techniques and analytical skills. So that's why, and my concentration is also in databases. So I love doing all those things.
Great.
Thank you. And one more thing, like I'm graduating in this December 2014.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, Venkatesh, you want to go?
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Hi, this is Venkatesh. I currently am pursuing a graduate student in University of North Carolina, Charlotte. I have 3 years of experience in cognizant technology solutions previously, where I was a developer. My major is information technology here. Why? Because previously I worked in a Java. In IT, I have flexible plan where I can improve my skills here, so that I choose information technology in Charlotte.
Great. Scott, want to go ahead?
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Just remember, guys, mute your lines when you're not on, and just to make sure that we don't have any feedback. So what I wanted to do, just to get us started here, guys, is just to lay the groundwork. Allow Sean to share his screen. So Sean, if you want to get that ready. Sean's going to go over just a little bit of the landscape and how he has gotten this particular group off the ground. And it's a fairly new group within our practice here in Charlotte. And this practice has really grown and developed quite a bit. As you guys may or may not know, we have hired some interns this past summer, and it was a very big success there from UNCC. And our success has been so great that we've been able to make offers to each of our interns, and they've accepted. So either interning or full-time, those 2 avenues have really been beneficial for our local practice. So, Sean, are you able to share your screen?
Sure, Scott. Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen, yep. Can everybody see his screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so as Scott said, we've had a very good experience with campus recruiting in general, but specifically with UNC Charlotte. And we have a technology group in Charlotte called ITS. ITS is an acronym for Innovation, Technology, and Strategy. We established this group because, and let me go to the next slide because this will kind of explain it. But, it's one thing to make sure that you deliver. So our customers, or our clients, I should say, have customers. And our clients have to continue to deliver over and over again, quarter after quarter, year after year, with what their customers currently expect. Here's the problem, though. How can they look over the horizon at new technologies and new pathways to become more competitive and to deliver a better experience to their customers? That's where Perficient comes in, and specifically, that's where ITS comes in Charlotte. We want to have that role where we are looking over the horizon at new emerging frameworks, such as mobile, such as cloud, such as automation, in order to help our customers maintain their competitiveness and customer satisfaction. Now, how do we do that? Well, one of the ways is we have a lab where we keep our thumb on the pulse of new technology that's coming out. One of the ones that's not on this this chart here is Node.js. And actually, when you guys have a turn to talk, I'd like to see if any of you have had experience with Node.js, because that's an example of an emerging server-side technology, but that takes advantage of our knowledge of JavaScript. I heard one person say that they already had web experience. Well, invariably, if you have web experience, you also have JavaScript experience. Well, with Node.js, now you can start writing middleware applications, server-side applications using JavaScript. But What's important, though, is that we have the automation framework to deliver, because our clients want us to help them deliver on their technology, and so we need to be highly trained, we need to have automated tools, and we need to have pattern-based frameworks that help us help them. Now, one example of a standard framework is the model view controller architecture. Many of the leading companies in our industry use the MVC architecture, like Google, Apple, Microsoft. And so this is one enterprise design pattern that we want to use consistently, whether we're doing a mobile app or a server app or a cloud app. One thing that maintains or that stays the same is our consistency in patterns, like this pattern here. So that architecture and that standards-based development or standards-based solution is very important. Now, you might ask, well, that's great, Sean, but if I were to come on board with Perficient, where would I fit in? And so what you have here is a solution team. And this is an example of what we might present to our customer, where the customer's at the top. We definitely want to have buy-in and collaboration and synergy with the customer, but then we're going to provide our own team that might include test engineers, business analysts, certainly the project manager is what kind of holds it all together. But then you need that senior team lead architect who can craft a solution and also mentor and train the solution/software engineers that are working on the team. And you can see that sometimes those solution engineers might have various skills, like mobile or cloud development, iOS, Android, Java, Microsoft. So this just gives you an idea of what a solution team might look like. Now, one thing that our clients want to see in us too is that we are thought leaders, that we're always thinking about how they can do it better, faster, stronger. And up here are some people in the industry that we look up to, that are thought leaders. The guy in the upper left, that's Mark Benioff. He's the founder and CEO of Salesforce.com, and he was one of the first people to popularize software as a service, platform as a service, and now that's a household name. The guy in the upper right, that's Tim Ferriss. If you haven't read his book, I think it's great, but he talks about eliminating waste and automation. I think I saw on somebody's wall they had like Lean, Six Sigma type posters in the background, and that's exactly the type of thing that Tim Ferriss talks about. And then finally, on the lower right, you have Admiral William McRaven, and he talks about moving at the speed of trust, and that's what we try to build with our clients, is the trust. But we also want to be somewhat agile and Navy SEAL-like in the way that we implement our solutions. But some of the things that we want to look at is the Internet of Things and wearable technology. So Google Glass is an example of that. Who knows? Maybe we'll get into swarm robotics. I've got a couple white papers out there on the internet where we've done some really great stuff with swarm robotics. One success story I want to talk about is if you go out there on the Google Play Store and you download the Lowe's Android app, Perficient had a big part in delivering that app, and these are some of the technologies that we use. We automated an SDK framework on the mobile side. We implemented automated analytics with IBM Core Metrics. We put them into a continuous integration cycle using Maven Jenkins. We were able to stand up some mock services using Amazon Web Services, EC2. So this is just an example of the type of thing that we do in Charlotte. And at this point, I'm going to end the slideshow.
Thanks, Sean. Does anybody have any questions for Sean?
I was wondering, when you do, you work with many different clients all over the United States. How do you decide on what platform you're going to use? Does it come from them, or do you offer suggestions?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a little bit of both. Sometimes they already have a bent, like maybe they've already purchased some technology and now they're looking for help with that technology. But even in situations like that, we have a pretty big latitude to suggest or to influence decisions after that. So, sometimes they already have chosen the technology, and then we join that and then help. At other times, they look to us. Hey, what do you think? We've got several technologies that we have in mind, but we recognize Perficient as a leader and an influencer, so please help us make the decision. And so sometimes we'll go in and do that as well. And there's a range. I mean, sometimes we're just going in and they already have a plan, they already have an architecture, and we're working within that plan and architecture. Other times, they want us to do the whole thing. Hey, you guys are the experts. We want you to come up with the architecture. We want you to provide the solution, and then train our people in what you just did. So I think we have to be flexible in both of those things, but you'll see a range. And if you work on 10 projects, 5 will be one way and 5 will be the other.
So I have a quick question. You mentioned a range of different projects that you guys work on. My question would be, how does a person working at Perficient, a software engineer who has a variety of different skills, get assigned to a project? Or are they even assigned to a project, or do you have the opportunity to choose from various projects and switch between them and so on?
Sean, would you like to answer that?
Sure. So we do try to match up skill sets with projects. So, first we work with the client on what they want to do and maybe propose some possible skill sets. But then when it comes down to closing the deal and we actually start working, then we have to match up what those positions were to the people that we have. Now, we're smart about it. We work ahead and we say, okay, if we get this and it has these positions, we know that Louise or Chris or Jake, they'll be working on this. So we do try to line that up in general. As it gets closer, we kind of harden that and say, okay, definitely, Jake's going to this project and Chris is going to this project. So that's part of our craft. This is what people like Scott, Jennifer, and myself do, is to manage that. But we're always working that. We're pushing the envelope on not only growing organically with our current customers, but also seeking out new customers. And then that fits into our recruiting pipeline, where we're recruiting for and we're matching up our staff with either clients we already have that have new needs or ongoing needs, or new clients that have new needs. So that's a constantly moving thing, and it's exciting, actually, to be a part of that.
My question is, I'm more interested in the business consultant role with Perficient. What role do you see as a business consultant being able to communicate to those technical consultants and representatives that are working on all these different projects? How do you see the business consultant staying abreast of all these new technologies, keeping that thumb on the pulse of new developments?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I can actually bring up an anecdote from this past year. We actually hired an intern from UNC Charlotte, and she did an amazing job. And here's the problem. Sometimes when you get on a project and you have like a development task, like I'm more technical, so I tend towards the more development tasks. But the problem with that is when you're on a team and you have like a lead or an architect or a software developer, and they're heads down into the architecture and into the technology, it's difficult for them to keep track of what's going on. Like, what does this requirement mean? How are we doing on the schedule? What's the quality of our project? Have we captured the right analytics and metrics? The development staff sometimes has a hard time maintaining that visibility. That business analyst role that you're talking about is critical to the success of
Sean, we are losing you. Can you guys hear me, or is it?
Yeah, I can hear you. I've lost Sean though.
Yeah.
Sean, can you, if you can hear us, can you speak for a moment, Sean?
Yeah. How does it sound now?
Yeah, you're better now. We just somehow we
Still
lost
blurry,
you.
but back.
Yeah,
you're
I
blurry.
turned my video down. I turned my video down a little bit, but maybe at least now you can hear me.
Sir.
Okay. Where did I drop off? What was the last
you
thing
were
you
right.
heard me say?
You were a bit spotty there, Sean, to be perfectly honest with you, throughout that whole topic.
Okay. I'll take short bursts then. You guys can tell me if I'm if you can hear me or not. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. That business analyst role is critical. How copy?
We hear you.
Copy that?
We hear
Yes. Copy.
This past year, we hired an intern, business analyst, and she played a critical role on a critical project in Charlotte. One of the technologies that we needed her to learn to help us with testing automation was Selenium. Have you guys heard of Selenium? Anybody heard of that?
I've heard the name. I can't tell you I know much about it at all, though.
Selenium.
It's like and Cat also has.
Selenium is like it's part of a suite of tools that allow you to automate end-user testing. So it's not really like JUnit where you're writing a Java program. This is actually client-side or user-facing automation where it automates the way a user would work. And so we had this intern head up, among other things, the Selenium testing. And I can go ahead and tell you it was very technical. I mean, she had to learn how to do that and learn that technology, and then she had to meet with, in this case, I think it was like the COO of the company to capture some of those requirements, and then translate those into automated tests, and then run the automated tests, in like a suite of top-to-bottom regression tests every time the developers would drop a new code base. So, that's a critical role. But I'm with you. I mean, it's also technical, and you have to stay up with the technology that's around that business analyst role. Did you guys hear that? Okay.
We did. Was that intern by chance Melanie Cudney?
Yes, it was.
Okay, she's actually the reason that I'm here. She's one of my friends and told me she really, really enjoyed her experience with Perficient. So anyways, I know Melanie very well and heard a lot about her internship. It was an exciting opportunity from what I hear. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's, I think, if any of you could follow in her footsteps, and at least match or exceed what she did, you'd be in good shape.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Let me actually also piggyback on that for a moment, okay, guys? Sean has brought into the local practice a technical flavor to which we call the ITS practice. Outside of Sean's practice, everything else is business in local. And when I say business, it's management consulting is what we would call it. And that falls under a couple different areas. One is consulting services, which happens to be your business analysts, your project managers, your coordinators, your testers. That all falls into that area. Then we have an analytics practice, a business analytics, which is your quantitative, statistical, data modeling type individuals who like data and those that like quantitative, they're mathematical by nature. That would fall into that practice. Okay. Then we have a practice that we would have the change management / process improvement. So that would be your Lean Six Sigma area that you have a poster of there, Jake. I
didn't do that on purpose, by the way. I picked a workroom.
That's all good. But that area and it has a focus, and that would be in that process change management space. Now, to not confuse all of you, that's on a local scale, but in a national scale, which means that you travel, and that travel would generally be Monday through Thursday. You would travel. There is a management consulting practice, which is a national practice based out of Charlotte, which is that change management, that process improvement, and that business analytics. They have it both local and they have it national. Both local to the area, but one travels and one does not. That's how they differentiate. Now, the ITS practice is a local practice. The majority of their work will be local, But we do have a little thing within there that if we can't find you something locally, we're going to try and look for you nationally. And so that means that people have to be open to traveling up to 50% of the time. If you're not open to that, then it wouldn't be a good fit, okay? Even though the majority of your time will be local to the Charlotte area, we can't have somebody want to join us and say, yeah, I want to stay local, or I want to travel, and then when it comes to travel, you're not interested. That just, that's unfortunately what it comes down to when we discuss consulting within a local practice. Does anybody have any questions about that component?
Yeah, hi Scott. You told us like 50% of the traveling, so like in a month, 15 days or something like that?
Nia, that's a good question. If you were to actually break it down by, like, if you say 50% and you broke it down by a month, you would probably be doing yourself a disservice, or at least giving yourself the wrong impression. So let me explain what I mean. Let's say you work on a 6-month project. That's about the average amount of time a project is, okay? If you worked on that 6-month project locally, that means you're working 100% of the time, which is 50% of the year, local. But now we can't find you something for local right after that project, so we have to look national. So we find something that's 3 months or 6 months. 3 months, let's say, now that would break it down to 25%, but you are traveling that whole time, Monday through Thursday. Okay, so at that time you can call it 75%. I don't really care within that 3-month period. But how I break it down is on an annual basis, not on a project-to-project basis, because then I would drive you all nuts and batty if I do that. Does that make sense? Sean, did I explain that correct?
Yeah, and of course, we cater the travel the best we can to fit the needs of both the consultant and the client. Give an example. We had a gentleman in Charlotte. We finished a project, but then there was kind of a little bit of a gap. So he was on a project, I think, for 3 months in Houston. In his case, he was able to work remote, I think, most of the time, and he only went on 2-week times of travel down to Houston. So that was an example where even though he was on a remote project, he wasn't gone the whole time. At other times, the client wants you on site, so it really just depends on the client. But like Scott said, you have to be willing to travel, but then we try to the extent possible to keep you in Charlotte as long as there's work. But sometimes it comes up to where you have to take a national post for temporarily.
Sorry, Sean. Let me just also mention to you guys that I have a national practice. It's is our Microsoft practice. Okay, we are voted Microsoft's Partner of the Year. We do quite a bit of work with Microsoft. My Microsoft team in Atlanta is actually a national business unit. And if you ask those folks who have been in Atlanta and that national business unit how frequently they have traveled, they will say 10% of the time. All of their work is done remotely. So, even though they're a part of a national practice, they have to be ready to travel and be willing to travel, but it doesn't mean you're going to travel. Okay? Just as a clarification there within our practices. Okay? But this is a local practice in which we are hiring for right now.
That was actually one of my questions, was the remote option. If you were working in the Charlotte offices, I understand that travel could come up on a project, but being able to work remote is something that I was considering being able to do later on in my career. I mean, I'd really like to be a part of a team and face-to-face time. So originally in May and in the coming years, how much would you say that entry-level position is in-house versus traveling and remote?
Well, okay, so let's clarify what we are referring to as remote, okay, Jake? Because what's important to that is when we talk remote, that means working from home. Is that what you're referring to? Okay.
Yes, it is.
So let's just call a spade, right? We do not know at any time whenever we staff a project, do not staff a project with the idea that the role will be remote. Okay, you always are going to, I wouldn't say always, but you are majority of the time going to be on location. And when the client is comfortable giving you that permission to letting you stay remote, that is a discretion of the client. Okay, within Perficient, we just ask that you partake in whatever that particular activity is that's requested by the client. The requirements of the client is what rules this situation. So with that being the case, I am a part of operations, right? I'm a recruiter, so I'm not on a day-to-day basis working with a client, but my client's internal. I can work remote when I want because I have a relationship with my teams that allow me that opportunity. But if I'm asking Sean, how frequently do you get to work remote? He might say, Sean, I'll let you actually answer it. I don't want to speak for you here. What would you say your team and the majority of your team does? I know that I kind of can sense your answer here, but I'd like you to answer that.
If the client,
Sean,
right.
We're losing you
go
again.
to work
Sean,
every day.
Can you hear me okay, Sean?
I can hear you.
Okay, now you're better. Go ahead.
Okay. If the client is in Charlotte, so far the experience has been almost 100% on site. Did you hear that okay?
I did.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't get as much opportunity to work remotely if the client is in Charlotte. If the client is in some other city, it seems to be a bit better. Like, I think they realize that you're coming from a different city, and so sometimes they're flexible on working remote. And a lot of times those are national projects anyway, so they had already set the expectation with the client. So far, I think that's been our experience. In Charlotte, almost 100% on site. Outside of Charlotte, more flexibility on working remote. Scott, is that fair?
I think that's very fair. Hey, Sean, while we're doing this, I know that we've had some questions from through our Q&A, and you've been answering them on the here. So just to get some verbal, can you speak to those questions? He's actually asked another question, which is agile methodology uniform across the teams. He's asking whether or not we have that, I believe. We're having some trouble with you, Sean. You there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you answer Midher's question?
Sure. Definitely, we're familiar with several different software development lifecycle methodologies, including Agile, and probably several flavors of Agile. We've had multiple opportunities to get training on Agile, so if you join the team, we'll make sure that you get trained. A lot of the clients, it's popular. Many of our clients use the Agile methodology, so it's good if our team members know how to do that, and if not, we'll make sure to get you trained. So, but is it uniform? Again, depends on the client. If the client uses Agile methodology, we use Agile methodology. If they're more keen on some other software development lifecycle methodology, then we're going to adopt whatever they have. And then the other question Madhur posted was, in addition to working for the client, do we also work on in-house development? And the answer to that question is yes. We work on these things called DevOps, or development operations tools, that streamline our ability to deliver for the customer. So we're constantly improving in that area as well, and we're always working on those tools.
To spin off of the Agile methodology and the education from within house, how do you guys feel about, I know you previously mentioned Lean Six Sigma. I'll actually be graduating in May with a green belt in Lean Six Sigma. But as far as continuing education, is most of that done in-house, or do you guys support people when they do want like a master's or various other certifications?
Yeah, let me answer that if that's okay, guys. The answer to that question about our training and continuous training program, let me just lay out a couple things that we're doing right now, the exciting things that are happening in Charlotte with the continuing education. First, we have a small group of team members that get together and do planning sessions for the office. And we have about 78 people in the office as far as our organization right here. So the office is a fairly decent size. And we do lunch and learns once a month. And they're always done by consultants, or we'll bring in guest speakers. It's very well attended. We have during our times, we will bring in a trainer. Right now, we have a trainer coming in to do 2 sessions, morning and an afternoon session for consultants. We have helped individuals get by doing a training. What was it, Sean? About a month or 2 ago. It might have even been longer, but we did training for our business analysts to get the certification, the business analyst certification. So they took the training to be able to go and sit for that certification. We're in the process right now of helping folks get their PMP training so that they can go ahead and get their project management training. So. And this is just touching the surface. Working with someone like Sean, Sean is always about training. There's a reason why we actually address trying to work hand in hand with UNCC, because the students who come out there have been sponges for us. They really pick up a lot of knowledge and technology, and Sean has in the past really enjoyed teaching that. So as far as training is concerned, absolutely. This is an area, it's a continuous, when you're on the bench, what we call the bench, which is between one project to the next, we're trying to get you training, because the more knowledge you have, the more employable you are, right? The more opportunity we can get you. So
absolutely.
The two, as far as like going back to school and doing an education, no, we do not actually have a program at this point that pays for your education. That is, we invest in other ways, like I was just suggesting by talking about the training.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right. If you guys don't have any other questions, I have a few questions for you, and I'd like, Louis, do you have a question?
I was wondering, just more about Perficient as a whole. Since you guys do a lot of consulting you just talked about the Lowe's app, I was wondering, how often do you guys get return customers? Is that a big part of your business, or is it more expanding out and finding new customers? How does it work?
Well, that's a good question. The way we're structured here in Charlotte and throughout really the company is that we have business development folks. Those that we call business development, our sales folks, are developing relationships with companies all across the country, but their territories. And here in Charlotte, we were once called Exervio back in April of 2011, purchased by Perficient. We changed our name. The reason I say that is because those individuals who were selling back in the day with Exervio are still with us today, selling with us under the name of Perficient. All that really changed in our company, at least locally, was just the name on the door. And that's the benefit of working with a company like us, that we've really been able to, we have a well-established name, or at least reputation, by relationships. To answer your specific question as to return business, we do a lot of return business. The majority of our work is return business. We've really, the idea of consultants and being a good consultant versus being a great consultant is really getting in that idea of land and expand, right? You get into a project, might be a project that doesn't have many folks in there as far as like name brand or name recognition. We develop a name and we develop a reputation based upon you and your work that you do, and then you start to poke around potentially for more opportunities, and then that's one avenue for us to expand the business, right? So that's one. Two, we have sales folks that are already partnering, so you do not have to sell. That's some consulting firms ask you to go out and have a quota and sell. That's not what Perficient does. We have people to do that for you. So what you have to do is just see where there might be opportunity, and then call upon those developers, those business developers, go out and really call on that business, and actually they'll bring you in, they'll corral you into the process because you are the one who developed that relationship initially. This is an avenue for you to also grow within the company. I mean, this is just one avenue that helps you grow within the company. So the more opportunities you find within the projects that you're in, the better chances you'll be able to have to being recognized. Sean, can you speak to any further of that? But I think that probably covers a little majority of it.
No, it's well said, Scott. Good job.
Okay. So hopefully that answers your question, Louis.
It did. Thank you.
So I have a question for you guys. Can you guys tell me or tell us really what type of organization are you looking for? I mean, you guys have come to us at our booth, but there were lots of companies there. So what attracts you to Perficient at this point?
Do we take turns?
It's whoever wants to speak up first. I like those who will be aggressive and talk.
Well, so the reason I came to Perficient was, believe it or not, actually Jake, who is in the call here now. He told me about his friend who had a wonderful experience working with Perficient, and that it was a local company here, a lot of good opportunities, growth potential. More specifically, since I'm a computer scientist, I enjoy, again, problem solving and working with computers, coding things, doing all that crazy stuff. And I have a wide variety of interests kind of inside of computer science. I like to work with lots of different technologies and to learn new things constantly. And I saw Perficient, being a consulting kind of company, as an opportunity to explore lots of different technologies and to kind of get my feet wet with more technologies than I had currently had experience with, to get better at those things, improve myself, do good work for the company Perficient themselves, of course, and whoever we're consulting with at the time, and as we've kind of talked about during this call, improve myself for future employment, either growing with Perficient, into a new position, or looking for employment afterwards. I feel like I'd be a much better applicant having some sort of experience with consulting and a variety of technologies covered there.
That's great. That's awesome.
What attracted me most was, again, talking to Melanie. She had a great experience about how a systems engineer can come and serve as that business consultant, which is, again, the role I'm just so attracted to. Once I started looking into it and to see what Perficient even was, because I, to be honest, hadn't heard of it at the time, everything I saw on your website was awesome. All the videos that I watched, the different career videos, I even watched one of the Google Hangouts that pertain to business consulting. And there's so many good things I've heard, and also about just growing yourself, being able to. I mean, it's as you said, when they bought Exervio back in 2011, they wanted to go. Some of the numbers I found online, from 100 to 1,450 employees, and that's a lot of growth. And so I'd like to go and look for a company that's growing themselves, but then also gives me an opportunity to grow as an individual, which is that's really what Melanie told me about, was just how much she learned and was able to kind of just get her hands dirty right in the mix of things. So that's what attracted me most, was being able to be part of rapid growth and then also learning and bettering myself as an individual.
Good.
I liked a couple of things. I want to be challenged when I work, and I'm a good programmer, and I'm a good developer. But there's more. I think there's more to that. I want more than that in a career. I want to have like multiple hats. I want to be able to approach clients in a successful way and be a good face to a company. Then I can go back to my computer and do good work there. I don't want to be just stuck in one position. I want to be able to dive into new projects, learn a completely new skill set. I just think that's very important. And I know some people who are like, I don't want to talk to anybody, just let me code Java for the next 20 years of my life. And I'm not really like that. I'm more of an outgoing personality. So I think that's my main. I think that's what I saw when I went to the presentation that you guys made at UNCC. I saw a lot of charisma and a lot of like energy in the groups.
That's fantastic. Neha?
Yeah. Actually, why I joined, or when I come to your career fair, like when you came to UNCC, I talked to you and you told me about the data analytics lab, as Sean already told us, like you are having some data analytics lab. So that what encourages me to like join your this Google Hangout session, because prior to this I hold experience in databases for about 4 years. So I wanted to pursue in that field only. And second thing which I liked about you is like you have taken an initiative. None of the other companies take an initiative to like have face to face in Google Hangouts, and you have those all those sessions questionnaire, like we are getting so much like introductions from you and all other people, so it's good. And like one Lewis has already told it, you are so enthusiastic, you tell us about your company, it has so charisma in it, so that's what I like about it.
Well, thank you, Neha. I want to make that a promo. Venkat.
Hi.
Sure.
Hi. Actually, previously I have 3 years of experience in only one technology, Java, and I didn't get any opportunity to work with the other technologies also. But here in Perficient, I've seen so many clients in the website. I've seen so many products, IBM, Microsoft, Oracle, where I can get opportunity to work with the different technologies and where I can improve my skills and along with the company's growth. And I've seen the Perficient is the top workplace in 2014, 2013. These two attracted me to join to come to the Perficient.
Okay, thank you. What as far as excites you guys about consulting? You know, I'm sure that there are lots of different companies that you guys are looking at, or you know, they're looking at you. What really, at this point in time, has you guys making, you know, narrowing down your search, looking for the right thing, and consulting is something I'm kind of hearing kind of scattered throughout some of your guys' answers as to why, you know, you're interested in consulting, because you know there's a few things here that, you know, I'm gonna go off on a quick tangent, but it's the first thing is that I always wanted, people ask me why, what are you guys looking for, what type of person, what's the skill sets, and I always try and give them, especially from the student's perspective, we're looking for problem solvers. We're looking for people to fix the problem that our clients have, who can think creativity, who have the creativity to come up with a solution, and who'd be a great teammate, to be able to sit next to somebody and say, hey, how are you doing this, and what are you doing, and let's work together. So tell me, you know, if you, or tell us about an experience, and let's go with this route. Tell us about an experience that you guys have had where you guys have had to use a similar mindset of fixing a problem and how it's worked out in your favor.
Okay. So
Go ahead.
no, I went first last time. Go ahead, Jake.
All right. Most recently, I was able to have an internship with Novant Help within their information technology department, and I kind of served exactly what you were talking about, is that problem solver, kind of cross-functional manager. The exact title was Operational Improvement Advisor, and they were almost treated as like in-house consultants for Lean and Six Sigma as it relates to technology. So it combined everything that I loved. And being able to take a simple problem that they were having, I hope I'm allowed to disclose this, was their password management system. It was, it used, actually researched the name to make sure I was able to say it the right way, but Corion was the software that they used. Long story short, it was very broken. They kind of just installed it without doing very much, it looks like, improvement since then. And it was very broken, and me and my team were able to take that, and through a lot of different creative kind of approaches that most people wouldn't think about, we were able to reduce that from 36 down to 19% of all of their service desk calls were 36% password related. We were able to take that down to 19 in just a couple months I was there. Little things like different links on websites and more helpful tutorials, even as early as continuing it, or not continuing education, but orientation of the company, Coming up with all those different aspects of a one problem and coming up with creative ways to attack and reduce that waste, which was password calls. That was my most recent experience.
So jumping right in, I would say my most recent experience in problem solving, as far as that goes, was this summer while I was working as a software engineering intern at Red Hat in Raleigh. A kind of request came in from one of the product managers of I don't know the specific name of the project right now, but the request was, here's a script that we use during audits of Red Hat customers. It gathers a couple different fields, SSH, to a couple different machines. They said about 30% of a company's machines that they're auditing. Gathers these fields, and then they do some analysis on the results of these fields. They asked for a couple different new fields to be added to this script, which right off the bat was not particularly hard to do. But as I was just starting out there, I kind of looked to my team and said, hey guys, how should I approach this? What should I do with this? The script that was given to me was in Perl. I was hired on to do Python. So I knew some Python and Java and stuff like that. Didn't really know which Perl. Of course, being a programmer and problem solver, you learn one programming language, you can pick them up more easily, pretty quickly. You pick it apart. Oh, okay, that's a variable, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm reading through, makes some sense. But the script to me really does look exactly like that. It looks kind of hacky, like a script that's just kind of thrown together. So I kind of investigated a little bit before just jumping in. I started to ask around. I said, hey guys, have you seen this before? Where did this script come from? Is this something that happens frequently? Some guy from some other part, unknowable part of the company comes in and says, I have this script, can you add this field? And they told me that was a kind of trend, that it's just this thing that this is a black sheep. It's someone in the team gets the task of adding these fields to this script, and they don't really want to have to do it. No one really on this team knows Perl. Everyone does Python. So they learn as much as they can to be able to add some field in, throw it in there, and fire and forget. And over the course of the years, it kind of had gotten more and more hacky, just kind of thrown together, and wasn't really looking very extensible and maintainable. And then coming to the point where I've actually seen it, like I said, looking at it, it was kind of almost indecipherable. And I didn't really know if that was a maintainable thing. So, of course, right off the bat, I tried to add in these extra fields just in Perl. I did that. After finishing that and talking with the team, I asked if they would be okay with me trying to port this, first of all, straight to Python. So that way it'd be more maintainable after I left, that they would be more be easier for them to do these requests and not have to spend so much time trying to relearn whatever the history of this script was, etc. And after working on it a bit during the summer, I started kind of trying to make a more general framework for doing SSH network scanning and discovery. And it turns out that the team actually had created an open source tool to do just this, an open source, SSH network scanner and discovery sort of tool. And so what I ended up doing was, of my own accord, integrating the features from this script that were missing in this other open source SSH scanning tool, adding a few other features to make it more usable, and adding all the fields that were necessary to accommodate those that were requested by the original requirements for this script. And on top of that, writing a manual to use this new tool in place of the other tool and to kind of integrate it into their existing procedures. And the end result of this is Red Hat is now in the process of integrating this solution to audit their customers using this new improved tool. So the problem I was trying to solve was not just the requirements that were given to me, but what I saw as a more kind of deep-rooted problem of this is an inefficient operation, going on like this. It's not really sustainable in my mind, or not necessarily sustainable. I mean, it's minor if you think about it, but I just didn't want them to be wasting time. No one has time to waste. So if you can make it so it's as simple as adding a single line in somewhere, as part of a tool to add a new field that says, hey, go do this thing, instead of how does this tool work? What can I add in here to try to put this field, together? It'd be a lot better. So.
Okay. Thank you. Louis.
Oh, yes. I worked in Mexico a couple of years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago. No, about 4 years ago now. And I worked at a investment fund. It did alternative assets like art and silver. And he had my boss had a Miami Beach office and also had a Mexico City office. I spent a lot of my time in the Mexico City office, and there was just seems to be a disconnect between how they communicated it, because the office in Mexico is all old style, paper, pen, file cabinets, barely any working computers. Like, nobody was very literate outside of the office, Word, Office, Adobe. And I was trying to figure out how I can make the two offices communicate better. And back then, that was just at the advent of Dropbox and popular services like Basecamp to do like to-do lists, to automate like teams and groups. So I kept myself very. I read all the articles that come out. I read everything, all the productivity blogs, and use these simple tools. Back then, I wasn't a programmer. Use these simple tools, and you make use these 3 or 4 tools. You write up a process for it, a sort of like, you do this, then you do this, and they start following directions. And then soon enough, the boss started adding to-do list items from his phone when he was traveling in Switzerland or Europe. And then both offices started mobilizing on it. The manager started giving those tasks to specific people in both offices. Something that did not require a phone call, something that did not require IMs, something that can be checked on continuously. It was like making a process that a client can follow, and that's going to give results. And a lot of people don't have the wherewithal to know that all these things can work together. But if you tell them to, and they see that it works and it's efficient, you give them something, and they start being a lot more productive than they used to be.
All right. Thanks, Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I worked in India for about 4 years, and it was an experience of back 2 years. I was working in one of the project, which was a development project, and it was something like it uses a tool which is ETL, and Informatica is one of the tools which we are using. Maybe some of the people have already heard about it. So in that, we need to load some of the data which is in unstructured format, and we need to convert that data into some represented or the business term format which is required by our client. So I was doing that stuff, and the data which is in structured format, it's in billions of rows were doing, and at the time it is taking around 8 to 10 hours. So it was something which we need to tune it, and it was a sort of performance tuning which we have done. So later on, what we have come up is something of using a materialized views, which is a part of Oracle. And by using those materialized views, we have buffered it out the data. We have converted into some business terms, which we are actually doing it using Informatica, and it really reduced a lot of time. So what we are doing initially was taking 10 hours, and the one which we have used later, it's around 2.5 or 3 hours. So we were given, I was awarded for a reward also. A braver reward was given to me. So it was kind of good experiment, as I came to learn a lot of things, like what all things we can go and what all things we can learn in order to performance tune or reduce the time. So that is all about it. Thank you.
No problem. Venkat?
Hi, team. In the last 6 months, I have allocated to the one project individually, and I and my colleague individually allocated to one project where we have done a POC on time leaf rules and content management system. Rules is a system where we can segregate or remove all the small if conditions or business rules in the one Excel sheet, and we can make use of that. And content management system where actually people will be using properties files or any static text to display in a front end page, but we are managing content management system where business can also add or remove if they want to add in future. I mean, it will be very feasible or it will be very useful for the business people. There will be no need of developers to change the code. And instead of using JSPs and JSF, we put the time leaf timely with the leading front-end developing pages, and we consume the REST and SOAP services, and at last, finally, before coming to the US, we put that product in the production, and we successfully done it.
All right, guys. We Jennifer, do you have? I know we had some stuff that was being covered on the Q&A. Were there any questions there that we need to cover? I'm seeing a few things back down here.
There we go. A couple people were kind of chiming in with some of their experiences. Sudhir said working for a consulting company always gives a chance to work with multiple technologies rather than working with a single business or technology. Allows for continuous learning. Another one is after Apple initially rejected our iOS app and our deadline was a week away, our team quickly made the fix, and I managed to get into contact with Apple's reviewing office. They helped us expedite the review process. We ended up meeting the deadline. It's from Tim. Let's see.
I guess we can cover that question again. Does Perficient have any requirements focusing on big data analytics? Well, yes, we did touch on this a little bit earlier. Hopefully this was clear, but we do a lot in the big data analytics from two different perspectives. The Hadoop, the Pig, the Hive, all that kind of stuff comes from our big management data, our large MDM practice. That is a national practice, but they typically look for people with years of experience. That is something that they don't typically hire right out of college. They don't have internships either. So those are, but from the local scale, from our quantitative, our business analytics practice, they do have needs that are within, that do blend well with that big data side of the house, and so we do sometimes see needs within there where there will be the analytics also with the big data, so they kind of blend together. But go ahead, back to you, Jennifer.
Just one more comment here. Someone said, Sudhir said, when he used to work as a senior application developer for Mellon for a team called Availability, Capacity, and Efficiency, which is responsible for tuning applications and parallel processing to improve process time. It was challenging to dive into other apps and improve them. And that's that from the Q&A.
All right, fantastic. So guys, we're going to be coming up on our time here shortly. I just wanted to make sure if there's any lingering questions, and then what I will do following up with this this last part is to ask you, or just let you guys know what the next steps would look like. Okay, I'll lay out the landscape of that so you guys can understand what our thought process is. But do you guys have any questions that we can answer for you?
One of the questions. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
All right. One of the questions I had was part of my experience with Novant Health. I was actually able to be part of their Microsoft Office 365 rollout. I was able to meet with their C-suite representatives, as well as Microsoft went to their campus here in Charlotte, and we kind of just talked about the strategy, which features, which software packages they wanted to come out with first. So with you guys being a gold provider, I believe was the word you used, or gold partner, how would that process have looked if I was a Perficient representative rather than a Novant Health representative? I know it's inside versus out, but at what point, I guess, is my question, would Perficient have stepped in to kind of manage that relationship?
There's a great a good story to tell on this, actually. You kind of led me right to it, and I'm going to pass it off to Sean in a moment, but just let me highlight something. First of all, we do the most amount of Office 365 integrations. That is reason number one why we became their #1 partner in the U.S. Okay. So we know that that area. Our Microsoft team is very advanced in lots of different Microsoft products, but that's just one. one story real quick, and I think Sean probably will tell it better, but it just as a highlight is that we actually have these relationships. What does that mean? It means that Microsoft might have an overflow, or they might not have, maybe somebody comes to it and they can't afford their cost, or whatever it might be. I mean, there's so many different reasons. I don't want to give one example and then think that that's pigeonholed into that. But they might go to them, and it, for whatever reason, doesn't work out. They will then, Microsoft, pass that business to Perficient. Perficient will go in and deliver that model, that whatever that is, that technology that they're looking to fulfill through, you know, the Perficient, you know, relationship with Microsoft or with IBM or with Oracle or Salesforce, or you put the name in there. So that's really what those relationships look like. But there are times that, and I'll use IBM for an example, where I believe, again, I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to pass this off to Sean, but I want to just highlight this, is that IBM product, they had trouble completing a project on their own, and I love telling this story. They couldn't complete the project. It was really just failing, and IBM came to Perficient to fix their problem of their own product, and we were able to be a part of that. And Sean, you could tell that story a lot better, because I think you were a part of that initiative, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we get that role a lot, you know. Yeah, but
Sean, we lost you again.
Hey, hold on.
You hear us? All right.
Okay, I'm gonna mute my camera. Is that any better?
Well, I'm not sure. We can't see you, but we definitely will let you go ahead and let's see.
No, I muted my camera.
Oh, gotcha.
Can you hear my voice any better?
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll just do that for now. So we get that role a lot, where, you know, sometimes technology projects are difficult, and you know, teams have trouble delivering. You know, they just maybe underestimated the scope or whatever. But for whatever reason, Perficient seems to get those kind of projects, like, hey, we're in trouble, we need your help. And so we've had the opportunity to really, you know, come along and not only solve the problem, but, you know, go above and beyond in those projects. So, you know, and that's the role of a consultant. You know, come in, analyze the situation, you know, find out what the issues are, craft a solution, both technical, business, and architectural, and then execute on that and build that trust. So, you know, we've had a lot of opportunities where that happens. One opportunity, and I won't tell you the client, but we had this situation where we bid on a project and we didn't get it. Somebody else was selected. So, you know, it's okay. We'll keep going, keep moving. Then later on, we got called back, and I guess the vendor that they selected didn't work out. You know, they just couldn't deliver. It happens. And so we were able to come in and, again, right the ship, get things back on track, and rebuild that trust. So we do get in that situation quite a bit. Not every time, but, you know, more time than you would expect, where we're going to come in and not only fix, but, you know, expand a current situation that is bad. Kind of like what Jake talked about.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Appreciate it. Does anyone else have any questions? I think, Nia, you had a question.
Yeah. Scott, you already told us that big data and Hive, all those stuff, and they recruited all people who have around 10 years of experience or something like that. So for me, if I wanted to be in that field, data analytics field, or in that domain, so what are positions I'll be looking for? Like, I hold the experience for about 4 years back in India, and right now I'm pursuing my master's. So can you please explain, like, what are positions I'll be getting?
Sure. That's something maybe we could better take offline to answer directly for you. But to give you a general idea, we have quite a bit of business within our business analytics, as I mentioned and suggested. And so it's a project-to-project type basis. So Perficient doesn't hire generally on a normal, everyday type business practice, hire people without having a project in mind for them. Okay, so project to project, but when it comes to campus, we hire based upon skill sets that we know that we are going to be able to fill. So we'll go out and we'll find resources and then look for opportunities for them, because just based on the experience level. So I would prefer, if it's okay with you, Neha, to kind of go over, project to project type stuff offline versus using this session for that, if that's all right.
Okay, yeah, great.
If there are no more questions, I had just one. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I already asked one.
Lewis, I'll let you go, Lewis.
Oh, okay. More on the consultancy side. You guys were explaining during your session at UNCC. When you're approaching a new client and you meet some internal employees that really do not like you butting into their business. Like, I know sometimes, like, do you send Sean in, or does Sean call me when that guy's resolved? I'll come do the rest, or is it? Does one person do all of that, or do you guys how does that process work with dealing with the individuals inside a company?
Conflict resolution, is that what I'm understanding? Yeah, I mean, it's a case-by-case basis. Sean, you're probably better served to answer this, knowing that you've been in situations with clients, and I'm more on the operations. So go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
The reality is, you're eventually going to run into some sort of problem. It's going to happen, and so what really builds trust is not how you operate when things are going well, but almost more importantly, how you handle when things aren't going well. And so, what we have to be is we have to be committed to our customers, and to, even when problems come up, the way we handle those problems is very important. And so it does happen, but we need to be aggressive about, not only figuring out what happened and how to fix it, but almost more importantly, determining, okay, how can we avoid that from happening again? So conflict resolution and managing difficulties, I think, is part of being a consultant. Certainly, it's a skill that you gain over time. So we don't expect the first year consultant to know how to manage that, but certainly there's a mentoring that goes on, where the senior consultants who have been there and who have figured out how to manage those conflicts and issues provide mentoring to help the more junior people come up through the system and learn how to manage that. So I think it is a key skill, but it's probably one that's learned over time.
Thank you. I always found balancing all of these skills to be a fascinating subject. So thank you.
Jake, you had a question?
Yes. You guys have probably worked at this point in your careers for multiple different companies. What is the single biggest and best difference that you have found at Perficient?
Well, I can answer that first. I'll let Sean answer, and Jennifer if she would like. Well, first, let me tell you how I got here. I came here working in consulting myself, and I was in the role of delivery, doing what I do now, but working for, as you guys know, Chiquita moved here from Cincinnati. I relocated them to Charlotte. And when I came here, I truly thought this was going to be a short-term type of an opportunity for me. I did not see this as a future working at Perficient. What I really enjoy about Perficient is the autonomous nature of my team, giving me the opportunity to you have to be somewhat entrepreneurial in consulting. And when you go more corporate, which they call corporate recruiter, what I do, I've found that usually then you have structure, a lot of structure. And that's not the case so much. Well, there is structure, don't get me wrong, but it's not regimented to a point where it's all process and process, so that process is getting in the way of getting deliverables done. So I found that this organization gave me the opportunity to really have a voice. I started coming in as a recruiter, and campus recruiting wasn't really on the radar for me here at that time. But I really showed interest in it, and I mentioned it to the appropriate people. And here I am tonight talking to students from UNCC. I've seen several people have the opportunity to really open up paths and doorways, and say you wanted to get, let's just say you wanted Jake to come in as a business consultant, and then you all of a sudden really start to really like the idea that what development can do. There is nothing that will stop you from being able to go in to, let's say, Sean's practice or Dave's practice, to that matter now, and say, Dave, I'm interested in becoming a developer, and that avenue can open up for you. And that's what I love about Perficient. It's kind of like a piece of clay, and you can really sculpt your career with Perficient.
That's awesome. You should do a promo.
Yeah, I'm smiling because, and Jennifer knows why, we actually are working on a program like that where we give students clay and they can sculpt their career with Perficient. But anyway, that's my take. I'll let Sean and Jennifer, if they wish to answer that, go ahead.
Please.
I guess I can go ahead. I've worked for small companies for a long time. Perficient grows a lot through acquisition, and in May of 2013, my company was acquired, and we were devastated. I won't lie. We freaked out. When I started with that company, we were about 40 people, and when we broke the 100-person mark, it was like a huge deal, Then we get acquired, and we're part of this. At that time, I want to say it was 1,800 person organization, and it was scary. We thought, oh, here we go, we're going to be shoved in these little boxes, and there's going to be no creativity or no real involvement. We were worried about that, and what I have found is, even now being part of this, what are we, 2,200, 2,400 people now, there is still a lot of room for growth. One of the things that I focus on is campus recruiting, because that's all my former company did. And as a company right now, we don't have a corporate campus recruiting plan. It's within our different business units. So there's a small group of us, Scott and I, leading the way, kind of trying to get a bigger a program in place so that we can grow it a little more within the company. And I have that opportunity. So I really like that I'm able to try out different things. I work with marketing a little bit, and you can just work if the opportunity presents itself and you're interested in things, you can branch out. So I enjoy that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sean?
Yeah, sure. I would agree with what Scott and Jennifer said. I would add to it innovation. That's a key focus in Charlotte, is innovation. Looking at new ways, new pathways, new technology, and Perficient is very open and encouraging when it comes to doing that. I mean, even the campus recruiting, I think, is innovative. So it's not just technology, and so that's the only thing I would add, is that that entrepreneurial spirit mixed with innovation. And the freedom to do that, and to help our customers with that sort of thing. I think those two things are really what sets Perficient apart.
Thank you.
Any other questions, guys?
I don't know if this is really a fair question, but I'll ask it anyway. Does Perficient really have any kind of overall real view towards open source? Is it Perficient generally, when I'm consulting with a company, kind of a strong proponent of, hey, we think we can integrate these open source solutions together, and then with our own stuff, our own contributions to these projects, and bit of hacking together, we can provide a sustainable solution for you guys based on this. Do you try to do that, or is it kind of the other way around, try to work with proprietary stuff, or is it perhaps, since it's consulting based, it's like what the company you're talking to is really interested in? It's like, you work with Microsoft, they're going to want you to work with their set of systems, etc. Like I said, I don't know if it's a really fair question, but I'll ask anyway.
So, Scott, I'll take that one.
Yeah, please, if you wouldn't mind. I think that's a better question for you.
Okay, that's a funny question. Probably we're more weighted on commercial software than open source. I mean, we don't have an opinion. For us, we don't care if our client wants open source. We're familiar with open source. It's no problem. But honestly, I think we're probably more weighted towards commercial with our big partners, like we mentioned before, IBM, Microsoft, Salesforce.com, Google, Oracle. So a lot of times what we'll do is we're an integrator of those technologies. Now, here's the funny thing, though. Every single one of those ones I just mentioned all use open source technology. You give me one web project, I don't care if it's Microsoft, IBM, that doesn't use jQuery. So, every single project has an open source component to it. We develop on the IBM side in this technology called Worklight, but Worklight is based on Apache Cordova, which is open source. Salesforce.com's platform, their mobile platform, is also based on Cordova. So I would say that open source is a key part of every project, but maybe not the leader in every case. Having said that, we do a fair amount of open source, whether it be Portal or a web project or even mobile. We do some, but I would say the lion's share of projects that we do are commercial, with a hint of open source.
Fair enough.
I have a quick question about well, if we have time.
Yes, sure, we can do it. Go ahead.
Sure. I was wondering, let's say your team did an outstanding job. The recognition that you get from in big companies is a hard time maybe standing out. Does Perficient do with the whole employee rewards, team rewards, all those sort of things? Kind of like the culture building aspect of it, or I was just wondering about that aspect of Perficient.
Sure, absolutely. That's really great that you mentioned that. We actually have, from the operational perspective, from the business development perspective, and even from the delivery perspective, have awards that are given out on both monthly, quarterly, and annual basis. Let me explain exactly what I mean. So on a monthly basis, we receive emails from operations as to what are our wins from the CEO. The CEO recognizes people on a global perspective, enterprise perspective, recognizing people who are our top performers and leaders at that, and then an email. And from that perspective, it goes out to your team. You get a lot of hey, good job, you're recognized. Then that's from the operational perspective. From the delivery perspective, Charlotte has done a great job during our our holiday parties that we have, and that holiday party that we generally have get recognized for, let's say, Rookie of the Year, right? Who just to recognize somebody on the team, give them a reward in front of everybody, saying, hey, you did a great job, you're the Rookie of the Year. There's the comeback player. I don't know. There's little rewards for each type of person, and that recognition goes a long way. I've seen it with people. They really, it gets them going. We do during our quarterly meetings, we have our general manager stands up and recognizes people for different achievements that they may have reached. Maybe it's milestones, like being with the company for X amount of time, or maybe it's having the ability to really offer a delivery to a team or to a manager, or a great teammate award, or a great mentor award. Whatever it is, that gets recognized, and it's not going to be just forgotten about. And so we recognize that as a very, like, a vital part, to our culture. And Louis, you met John Nance, the gentleman at the info session. He happens to be the person who runs a lot of that, about the awards, and making sure people really feel like they are a part of a team, and he does a good job with that.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions before we end tonight's call? All right, fantastic. Hey, guys, I hope this has been a great for you as it has been for us. I can tell you right now, both myself, I can just probably speak for Jennifer and Sean, that this has been a really just a great interactive conversation. And I got to say, this is the best we've had at UNCC for sure. So kudos to all of those on this call.
I won't be able to sleep tonight.
Yeah, that's cool. So a lot of people like to know, okay, what's the next steps? Where do we go from here? I mean, this, to be honest with you, is not an interview. We're not going to decide based on somebody on this call whether or not they've been selected or not selected. This is really like a pseudo info session, a very casual conversation. You got to ask questions of us, we get to ask questions of you, and just see how we interact, okay? What I'm going to ask that each of you do is, anybody listening to this call or anybody on this call who is interested in Perficient, is, one, make sure that you send us a copy of your resume and a soft copy if you have not already done that. That is to me. So the business card that was given to you at the career fair, make sure you send it to me, scott.albert@perficient.com. Send me a resume with an email of, why are you interested in Perficient? I would like to know that. I would like you to actually tell us why you're attracted to Perficient after this session. Maybe it's grown as far as excitement, or maybe it hasn't. Maybe it's gone the opposite, and then I understand that too. All right, so next, I want to make sure that you guys understand that we do have already plans to making an offer to somebody for May, is that it's going to be dragged out a little bit. And the reason for that is because we're dealing with consultants who are on projects that are going to be pulling in. And if I get somebody to do a project, like interviewing now, and then all of a sudden it won't be until May that we're hiring someone, that becomes it's challenging to get management to say, oh yeah, we're gonna get somebody to do an interview, hire them now for May, right? So what we do is we spread it out a little bit. So in all reality, what's going to happen is we're going to have a phone interview following this session, and that will happen in like 3 or 4 weeks. Just so you know, it might even be less. I've got to work with my counterpart Dave, who you guys met at the fair. Going to have his input, but we're going to set up phone screens with technical. That will be a technical phone screen or a business phone screen, whatever it is that fits your area, okay? Then after that, we're going to bring you into the office if you've been selected to become a part of the final interview. That is going to be a half-a-day interview session. That would be sometime in November. I'd like to get that done before Thanksgiving. We're going to follow that up after the holidays with you having folks come in to do a shadow day. We like to give you the opportunity to see what it's like to be a part of Perficient. What is the culture like? And have you guys meet some folks. I'm already working with the university there to bring in shadow days and have people come in. I'm going to want to include those that we're selecting anyway. So if you get to the shadow day, that's a good sign, okay? And then following that up with offers, and the offers should come out by February. All right, that's my anticipation, late February time frame. I know that it's a couple months out. I know you guys are trying to look and trying to figure out what am I going to do after graduation, but here's the good thing. If you get offered a position, you have 2 options. You can start right away, right? You start June 1st so that you can get, going, and I'm sure you have a lot of bills to pay with your student loans, right? Or you can take the summer off, enjoy the summer, and come and start with us in the fall. We give you that option because we really value the last summer you have before when you complete. I mean, it's important to me as as the recruiter. It's important from a Perficient perspective to make sure that we are bringing in the people who want to come in with a fresh mind and ready to go. Okay, so that is an option that we give all of our hires. That's our full process. That just laid it out for you. Dates will come when I talk to you. If you have any questions, the follow-up is with me. My counterpart here, Jennifer, has been so gracious to help me through this, getting this Google Hangout set up for tonight. So thank you, Jennifer. But that concludes our session. I really appreciate it. I'm going to pass it over to Jennifer, and then we'll say goodbye. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. We hope it was informative and insightful. And we're going to go ahead and shut down. Everyone have a good evening, and thank you so much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.